G'day legends, welcome to the Pot Noodle on Celtic Down Under. I'm your host Jared, and joining me is Shane. I'm not sure if Willie and Ian will be here tonight. They might be asleep already because they're across the Dutch in New Zealand, bro. But we'll see what happens if they show up. But how you going, Shane?
Yeah, good mate. Good to be actually with you this week. Got over the tech gremlins that kept me on the bench last week. So technology, it's wonderful when it works, and it's a real pain when it doesn't.
Oh, it's a drainer, absolute drainer. Just I was talking to Shane off air, and just setting this up. The episode tonight was more of the same, and I'm like, please don't do this again. So glad we could get on air, get the pod going. And yeah, we'll see how long the episode goes this week. See how much waffle there is, and I'm sure Shane's got quite a few opinions ready to go after last night's game. So yeah, we'll get straight into it. So Celtic 2, Hibs 1 in the league. For me, going into this game, if you had have asked me before the game, Shane, what are you hoping to get out of it? My answer would have been one simple thing: give us 3 points and then back up the road. So I can't really be complaining with the way we played and the way the game went at the end of the day. Yeah, it was a tough watch, in my opinion, but yeah, we got the job done that we went in there for. So the starting lineup, Sinisalo, we had Johnson in there, Trusty, Scales, Tierney at the back, and then in the middle of the park, Engels, McGregor, and Nigrin, and then up front was Dazen with Yang on one wing and Tenekti on the other. So a few little tweaks here and there. Was not expecting to see Tenekti start in the game, and yeah, good to see AJ back in the lineup. What was your thoughts, Shane?
Yeah, well, just to comment on AJ, yeah, great to see him back in the lineup. Also, obviously, with the run in, with the amount of games that we've got, he's obviously our starting right back. So if we're going to actually get him up to speed, we need him to play and get those minutes into him. So made sense that he came in. And also, Tanetki was a little bit surprised, but also, really your only other option to play in front of Tanetki at the moment is Forrest, or if you shift Yang over and play Forrest on the right. And I think you and and a few others have said about how effective Jamesy is coming off the bench, and he shouldn't really be starting. So it doesn't really surprise me Tanetki came back in. I think Martin does like what Tanetki offers. So I actually, looking at this starting 11, I think this is probably the starting 11 Martin will persist with for the remaining fixtures unless injury or fatigue commits. If everyone's available, I think this is the starting 11 he sticks with.
I think the defence, yes. I think up front, the question is, are we better off having Tenekti there, who was a big money signing for us to play on the wing? Or do we throw someone like Big Iheanacho in, who I think we can only get probably 35, 40 minutes out of a game, being realistic at the moment? Do we put him at striker and push Dazen back out to the wing? Now, what I'm liking with Dazen, I'm just going to say this, is the energy's back. He looks a bit more like mentally sharper. Like he looks more focused. He's playing in his preferred position. He's playing striker again. So I'm seeing more from him in terms of, we're going to talk about body language experts and stuff on the pod, and we make that an ongoing joke, but he looks like he's happier playing the last 3 or 4 weeks when he's been back at striker than on the wing. I don't know if I'm seeing things or if that's what I want to see, so I'm interpreting it that way. But for me, it's looking like Dazen's back playing at striker, and yeah, I think realistically with the ongoing story is we just don't have anyone else, so Dazen has to play striker. So Tenekti, you're right, Shane, will probably be in the starting lineup going into the game on the weekend.
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly on Dyson. The energy that he's showing, particularly recently, he's back to those energy levels that we saw when he was at his best under Brendan, and most certainly at his best under Ange, right? The pressing, he's forcing players into mistake. He's constantly harassing the fullbacks and centre halves again. He wasn't doing that earlier this season. He genuinely looks like he's enjoying his football again. But I think, to add to your comment on Dyson starting, I think what Big Ian, being Ian Archo coming off the bench, does is something that we really haven't had all season. Is we haven't really had that game changer coming off the bench. We've always lamented the fact we don't really have someone who's going to come on and turn a game. with big and a big Big Iheanacho, we do have that now all of a sudden. So if you're playing Maeda up top, and this actually, we'll talk about the game a little bit later, of course, but it actually worked out this way. You look at what Iheanacho brings when he comes on. All of a sudden, he brings a whole different dimension, and we look completely different. And so, I agree with you. We're probably not likely to get, no, certainly not 90 minutes out of him. Probably lucky to get an hour at most. Why not persist with what we've got? And then when we need him to come on and actually change the course of the game, we can turn to him instead. So I'd like to keep it that way.
It's kind of reminding me of the dynamic. I'll go this and then I'm going to quickly go back to the Dazen thing for a second. But it's given me the dynamic of when we had Kyogo starting and then we had the big target man centre forward in Giakoumakis coming off the bench behind him. It gave us that game-changing difference maker up front who has to be defended in a different way to the striker. So when Dazen starts, and this is when I'm bringing it back to him, there's no time off for the defenders. They're going to be on, go, 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 go. And as some of the comments are saying, yeah, Dazen's trying to play himself into the World Cup spot. That could be part of it as well. But I think he just looks happy that he's back up top playing his natural position. But if you're going to put Dazen doing that, have big Kells, as Willie calls him. Big Kells coming on. And this is going to sound really weird, but I have not seen us have a striker up front who just looks so chilled out and relaxed and he's so composed and is not going to be rushed. Like his goal in particular, he took his time and does it. And that's what he always looks like he has so much space around him in much the same way Edouard used to play for us. Like he just has all the time in the world. Like when you've got Dazen and you've got Kyogo pressing and being on the shoulder, that sort of thing, or you've got target men, it's a different story. But he changes the way teams have to defend us. So yeah, it's good to have him coming on as an impact sub.
Yeah, and that poise and composure, which was just the hallmarks of the goal against Hibs, is exactly something that we've also been lacking a lot of, and we were lacking most certainly before he came on yesterday.
Yep, 100%. So we'll just get into the game, Shane. So do you want to give us your rundown on the first half? Because I'll tell you, this was my viewing experience last night, all right? Put the game on, get 5 minutes in, bang, feed's cut. Guess when my feed come back? It was half time and they were showing ads. Second half started, 10 minutes in, gone, done. Put a fork in it. So I had to rewatch it back today. So you'll probably have a bit more of the, while watching it, how you were feeling and, like I know some people were saying they were sitting on the edge of their seat, it was squeaky bum time, that sort of stuff later on. So you're going to be the one to actually give that like when you were watching it. For me, I already knew the results, so it was different. So over to you for your thoughts on the first half.
Well, I thought the first half we started pretty brightly. I thought the energy was really good. I thought Dyson in particular was obviously at his best, where he was, as we said before, harassing the fullbacks and the centre halves. But, we were dominating the ball. I think the thing that stood out for the first half to me is that, and it's not something I would have ever said that we've done under Martin, either his first or second spell this season. I thought we actually overcomplicated our football, particularly in the Hibs final third. I thought just we were trying to make things happen that weren't there. We were looking to sort of link up those 1-2 passes on the edge of the box. We were far too sort of passive when it came to that. We were trying to make the perfect play happen too often, and there was very little width to our play, and that was really frustrating. That was evident prior to Jamie McGrath getting sent off for a very deserved red card for a horrible tackle on AJ. But that to me was the main thing of the first half, and the parts where we actually looked our best were when we were actually getting the ball into those wide areas of the channels quickly, and we had space in front of us. A couple of quality moments from Yang where he's getting the ball to Maeda, a few other bits and pieces there where we looked better, but when we were actually had space and width to our attack. So it was frustrating watching us try to do the same thing. It wasn't exactly the same as Brendan knocked the ball to one side, knock it back, the recycle the ball over and over again, but just that the continued try to open or walk the ball in was getting frustrating. But we were definitely on top. They were sitting back. They were absorbing already prior to the red card, and that made them sit a lot deeper, which made them more difficult to break down. But look, there were a couple of moments of quality, as I said. We were unfortunately a little bit profligate in front of goal. Maeda again fluffs his lines, in particular that Yang ball from just on halfway. He's got to be forcing the keeper there into a save or some sort of action. But look, we still took we still went 1-0 up and took a deserved lead, which I thought would actually see us into halftime, but we'll get into that later. And a good bit of interplay, and it doesn't surprise me that it actually came from when there was a little bit more width to our attack, where AJ actually gets to the byline and is able to cut it back, and it's a tidy finish.
Yeah, the thing for me with the watching it back, Shane, is really it's a completely different experience to watching it live. 100% will tell you. You would agree, right?
Definitely.
And the thing is, like when I was watching it, because I knew how it ended, I wasn't as hard on some of the players, like in my judgment. Like some players, like I noticed, like their goal, some people were absolutely slaughtering Scales in the group chats I'm in. But then watching it back, there's like, I can see 3 or 4 people out of position that lead to that. So it's different things like that you notice because there's no pressure on because you know the result, right? But you're spot on where we had our best opportunities when we went wide. And the thing is, Ian constantly says he just wants us to buy some wingers who actually wing and stay out instead of trying to invert, right? And the thing is, Yang, he was so close to being sold. And look at the player he's become for us. Like, he's a good quality squad player for us. It's a fair drop-off from, like, when you had your guys in front. If we look at the right wingers going back from when Ange came in, you had Jota, you had Abada. You then have Kun. Jota's come back but got injured. So who you got out wide right? You're stuck with Yang at the moment, right? And he's given a fair crack of the whip, let's be honest. He's had a fair income shot at it. So nothing against the guy, but the way he's improved and his positioning and the fact that he's now trying to... He's mixing up whether he comes inside or goes inside, goes outside, whatever. That's actually making him harder to defend. And I put a lot of those out balls to him, the way he's learnt to in and out. I wish Tenecti would develop that. That would make him a lot more dangerous. Because what I find is when we go wide, we've got the speed, especially with Dazen in the middle, to be able to spring that offside trap. Perfect example... Anyone here in Australia who watched the A-League back in the day, you would always have Bessa Barisha or Archie Thompson offside. The ball will go to the winger, and then the winger plays them onside by just passing it across. Dazen could be offside to start with, then the ball goes to the winger, and the wingers play him on, and that's what happened with his goal. And I'm looking at going, that is just basic route, like not route 1 football, but that's football 101. Get it wide, beat a man, get a crossing. So, yeah, really good football to see, basic stuff. But, yeah, I just thought our wingers were pretty decent in the first half in particular.
I was sort of thinking about sort of the fact that we kept trying to, I guess for a lack of a better term, walk the ball in, right? You know, we're trying to make things happen. We're being too intricate. That's probably the word I was missing before. It's probably the first time all season where we've absolutely had an opponent completely pegged back. Like when you think about it, like I can't remember the last time a team sat this deep against us. We've commented most of the season since Brendan left that most teams don't seem to fear us and sort of come out and play a little bit or might not sit as deep as they used to. This is the first time for a while that I can remember a team sitting really, really deep and just wanting to absorb pressure. And maybe that led to us sort of going, well, we've got to really kind of overwork this. It was just a really odd to see because it's something I've never attributed. We've talked about Martin throughout the season, the fact that he's actually, you know, for a want of a better term, simplified things, and it seemed to actually do a little bit of a 180 yesterday.
Yeah, we've gone more direct under Martin, and I don't know. I think yesterday's game was a combination in patches of like, are we trying to go the simple Martin, you know, first stint this year, more direct football, or are we trying to go Brendan ball and, you know, pass the ball to death and recycle and bore us basically. So yeah, it was a bit of an interesting one. All things considered, yes, Robert Gibson, that is a fair comment. Hibs sat deeper than porn stars, did he? I had to say it just for a laugh, but yeah, as Gordon's saying here, it was a really tough watch. And then Gordon's also followed up saying Tenecti could have done heaps more.
He cuts inside way too much for mine. He's always looking to cut in from the left, and I'd much prefer he keeps his width. I thought he was at his best when he would actually hit the byline a little bit, but he always tends to sort of get on the ball. He gets squared up by the fullback and then looks to cut inside way too often.
Well, Robert Gibson's got one for you, Shane. Tenecti is about as useful as a mop on the Titanic.
I've not heard that one before. That's not bad.
Yeah, so it's one of those where I just look at it and go, the way I'm looking at, here we go, Tanaka Khan. Why not have Yang and Tenecti switch wings occasionally? It might encourage Tenecti to get to the byline on his stronger foot, and he's a better crosser than Yang. Fair point.
Yep.
We used to have a joke on this pod back when Neil Lennon was in here. He'd get 15, 20 minutes to go in the half and then switch the wingers. That was like one of the old jokes, but I see the point. That would make a lot of sense. The bigger issue for me with Tenecti, right, is if he's going to keep inverting and coming inside, right, it makes sense. If you're going to have Tierney bombing on up the left wing to keep so he can overlap, because that's where in Brendan's first stint, if you think right back, Scott Sinclair would come inside onto his right foot all the time from the left wing. But he had Tierney bombing on the left. So if he couldn't get in there, he had that out ball either behind the left back, he'd put the little ball through to Tierney to get to the byline and cross it, or he'd play it early and Tierney would go beat the man and the cross would come in, right? So that's the dynamic you need, but we're not seeing that timing between Tierney and Tenecti because they haven't played much together to build that. That's the dynamic I think would still work. Does Tierney have the legs to do that? I don't know anymore. But at the same time, that would work in this team. However, I agree with what you're saying, Shane. He does not need to cut inside as often. I actually agree with everyone saying that. I was just playing devil's advocate. So yeah, I just think the first half goals, like we've spoken about the first one here, the goal there, love this on Gordon. A simple 1-2 Johnson, bang, cross goal. Yep, spot on.
And correct use of VAR to actually overturn what was an incorrect offside flagging.
How quick was that wanker to put his flag up?
Well, it's amazing to me, looking back on it, and we're gonna harp on about. Well, I don't know about yourself, but I'm gonna harp on about referees and VAR a lot. So just waffle warning everybody in advance. But I don't understand how a linesman who isn't actually in line with the player and the ball can make that decision. Sure, you're not in a position to know that that's offside. That's a guess.
The fix was in. Let's be honest.
I mean, I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be. I can't think of the right word. Not go down that path. But you just look back at that and go, well, you can't possibly know that's offside. That has to be a guess. You can't see where the ball is. You're not in line with the two players. You cannot possibly know that that's offside from your angle. So when in doubt, you should be leaving the flag down, and then obviously VAR comes in and corrects it if it's offside, right?
That's what they were always told to do. Once VAR came in, it was, if in doubt, leave the flag down.
Well,
it wasn't obvious, but this idiot didn't. Yeah, I saw somewhere, I can't find it in what chat it was, but someone referred to it as the Masonic mates tried to ruin us and they got caught out by VAR one time. Actually, VAR did its job twice in the first half, let's be honest.
It did, yeah.
It did its job with that cross. I saw a Rangers spares, right, on Twitter. Absolute. I find him funny. I actually don't want to get blocked by that account. He is just delusional. He's like the boys' view of Rangers Twitter. Like, it's just someone who just says so much stupid shit that you just feel like, mate, you say enough, eventually something's going to be right. Like what he said about that VAR for the goal, right? And this is, I shit you not, Shane. He's like, you don't put the line from the ball on the cross, you put it from the guy making the crosses the front of their foot. So the line's wrong. Dazen was offside. That's what he tried to say. Oh, sorry, the cross, made him offside. And I've looked at it and gone, are you stupid, thick or dumb? Like, because, okay, if you're the striker and the ball's coming in on a cross, they have to judge you off what you can score with, whether that's your head, your shoulder, your hip, or your leg, basically, your knee, your foot, right? So his end of his toe would count. But on the cross, it doesn't matter which part of his foot he hits the ball with, what is actually being played and what's the measurement. If your foot is like, if you're a size 10 boot and you've got like 2 inches of like foot in front of the ball because you're needing it to whip the cross around and get the shape on it to curl it back, it's going to be in front of the ball. So you got to measure it from the ball because that's what you score with. You don't score with your toes when you're hitting the ball with your heel. It makes no sense.
No.
So the guy's an absolute idiot. I saw that and I was like, dude, I can't wait to see what shit he comes up with next weekend. We're already looking forward to it.
Got the notifications ready to go.
I'm going to put notifications on his account, guaranteed. Yeah. Anyway, Shane, I'll let you jump on to what. Anything else in the first half you wanted to talk about?
Well, I mean, do we want to talk about their goal now or do we want to leave that to unpack later?
Actually, I got something before we go. That yellow card updated to red. My God. I saw another person as well. I think it was the same bloke actually said, Jamie McGrath has never had a red card in 454 games of first team football. And now the former Celtic youth player gets a red card at Hibs, blah, blah, for Hibs, blah, 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 to help his team in the title comp. And then he brings in Ryan Mullen saying, just like what Ryan Mullen did, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, mate, you're fucking mental.
You boys talked about this last week. You said this dialogue was coming and you were spot on.
Yep. It's just brilliant. I just had a chuckle. Like, yeah, that was a good use of VAR to upgrade it to a red, but that was clear as day. Like, even Stevie Wonder could see that was a red card when it happened.
You only needed one replay for that. Like when you saw it live, my first reaction live was, "Geez, that's a hefty tackle. I want to see that again. That looked pretty bad." And then you see the first replay, you see those studs, and you're like, "No way, he's done. He has to go off. If there's any, there's no way they can avoid not sending him off. The footage is way too clear and obvious." I don't know why I thought that. It's Scottish football. It's VAR in Scotland. I was proven right not too long later, but yeah, that was an awful tackle.
VAR in Scotland doesn't stick to the IFAB rules, let's be honest.
Well, it did. It didn't at halftime or just before halftime.
It's whatever they get their Etch-a-Sketcher out for or their crayons down at the lodge and figure it out. But yeah, it was, when I first saw that tackle, I wasn't even watching his front leg. The one that went through with the studs up. I wasn't even calling for a red card for that when I saw it. It was his back leg on the ground coming through, tunneling him. Like, he's got a leg up, but it's his back leg and hip coming through, taking his leg that's actually grounded properly. I was like, oh, that could have done someone's knee. That was the one for me. I'm like, even that was a red card worthy. And then I saw the replay of the first front foot, and I'm like, yeah, he's done. Put a fork in him. Done.
It's a very reckless tackle. It's exactly what a red card should be for. And yeah, that was a proper intervention for VAR. What a pity that it was 2 for 3, in the end. What a pity it couldn't actually make it 3 for 3.
Yep. Yeah, it should have been interesting if they had have gone for the third one. So do you want to get into their goal?
Well, yeah. So just before we touch on the decision, obviously we're going in at halftime. We're nearing the end of the first half. We're 1-0 up. There's unfortunately a litany of mistakes that lead to them scoring. Obviously, Scales tries to play a pass. He mishits it pretty badly. Tanetki gives away an absolutely needless foul on the touchline. That was just stupid. And then the ball comes in, we don't deal with it. They get a second ball in. Negron heads it towards goal, or basically back towards the penalty area instead of away, which is just insane. And then it drops to Newell. It's a little bit scrappy. It drops to Newell, and then he scores. But when you look at the replays, it's clearly he's used his arm to control that. It's clearly come off his arm. And then he scored immediately after it. You talked about the fact that Scottish refs and VAR don't use IFAB. Well, they should, because IFAB clearly states that, if the ball comes off your arm, irrespective of whether it's accidental or not, and you immediately score, it's a foul, and the goal has to be ruled out. And I find it's either blatant cheating or staggering incompetence that goal cannot be overturned. You look at all the angles that we saw, that's clearly come off his arm, and he scored directly after it. It is almost as black. Like, we talk about the fact that offside's really the only black and white decision when something gets referred to VAR. It's not interpretation. This is as close to black and white as possible outside of an offside decision. It's come off his arm, he scored. You have to chalk it off. I looked at it, and even Newell looked at it. You saw his reaction when you were watching it. I can't remember who he was making the facial reaction to. His facial reaction was clearly one of like, oh my God, they've kept that with me. They haven't chalked it off.
When you saw him talking to the ref, Shane, he was like, went like this, and he had his arm down, and he's going like that, and he's actually showing where it's brushed him on the bicep, and then he goes here, and then he kept sliding down onto his hip. So he's actually giving himself up while talking to the ref as well. But the thing is, clear and obvious error is when something goes to VAR. All goals are supposed to be checked by VAR. Look, and if there's a clear and obvious error, well, that was a clear and obvious error because he handballed it. He fucking played with his balls before he scored.
I genuinely cannot possibly see how they could let that stand in an acceptable, a debatable capacity. It is literally as black and white as you can get outside of an offside decision. It's come off his arm, he scored. It had to be chalked off, and it's genuinely perplexing. And I'm not gonna, I know where we're going with that, chat. I won't lean into that. I'll let everyone else in the comments lean into sort of, the reasons why they didn't get chalked off. But from an outsider looking in, if we're looking at it from, say, Australia or overseas or wherever, looking at sort of decisions that happen in Scotland, you would be, and you don't know the backstory and everything around this, you'd be absolutely shocked that hasn't been overruled.
Well, be honest here, Shane. There's two Australians right here who love our football club in Scotland, tune in from the other side of the world to watch it. So looking at it from our point of view, when we're outside the goldfish bowl of Scottish football, we're over here. We're outsiders looking at that. You wouldn't get away with that here in the A-League. You wouldn't get away with that in the EPL. You wouldn't get away with that pretty much anywhere else. It's actually piss poor in my opinion. And you wonder why no Scottish refs got a Guernsey for the World Cup, even though Scotland qualified. Well, there's your proof right there. You look at your linesman, like as Andrew's saying here, the linesman was 1.5 meters behind the ball. So how can he call offside? Well, that sums up that situation there. And then you have a look at your referees. You've got Don Robertson. You've got Dickerson, or Dick Hedson, as the boys in the chat are calling him. There's a whole bunch of other ones there, like Scottish refs. They're pretty average, let's be honest. So Robert Gibson's spot on here. VR Rangers. VAR. And yeah, it's just, I'll just look at it and go, it's just ridiculous some of the times, like some of the things you see with the referees over there. But because I've followed this my whole life, I'm not just some Johnny come lately been watching. I've been watching games since the 90s, even on VHS tapes back in the day at the Supporters Club. Like, you watch Scottish football, the referees, in my opinion, are actually worse now than they were in the 90s when all the corruption was rife. And that is saying something. So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one there.
Just while you get the comments up, just to add to your comment, VAR is a shit show in our league, in the A-League here, in my opinion, and yet that would have not have stood, that would have been overturned correctly. And we're talking about a system that is really poor here, and yet that would have overturned it. Just to give people some perspective on how it would have been handled here, which is still a really poor implementation of VAR. That wouldn't have stood.
It was pretty bad. So anyway, Craigie White, hail troops and the Albert Kid CSC, you beauty.
Hey. That's a good reference.
So yeah, just overall, I just thought the referees, like what I put on the run sheet for you, Shane. This is my exact words: referee smackdown, courtesy of Shane and Willie. It was actually my notes that I put on here. So we haven't even really got to the second half. So if you want to jump onto that, and we can pile on the refs a bit more later.
Yeah, well, second half, I thought we started pretty poorly, to be honest with you. I thought the same energy that we had in the first half, which was quite good, even if we weren't making necessarily a lot of things happen or making many clear-cut chances, our energy was quite good. That really kind of evaporated. In that first sort of quarter of an hour in the second half, game was in a real holding pattern, and we seemed to be sort of stuck in mud a little bit. And it really took the subs of McCowan coming on, of Forrest coming on, and obviously Big Ian as well.
Those three, that's swung the game, Shane.
Absolutely. All of a sudden, we looked like we had a bit of impetus about us again. We were getting the ball forward. McCowan was playing some wonderful passes through. A couple of times he released Maeda. Again, he fluffed his lines, unfortunately. James, he's getting direct. You know he's going to get direct. You know he's going to stay wide. We've got that width back in our attack. All of a sudden, as I said, we had a bit more of that energy again. We look like we've got a bit of control of the game. But it took that calm and composed finish from Big Ian, though, which is something we'd lacked throughout the entire game up until that point. That is a genuinely good quality finisher from a really experienced striker. Nods the ball down, waits till exactly the right moment to lash it home. It's exactly what we've been missing, and exactly why I want him to actually come off the bench and be that impact player, because he's going to be able to do that when he's only given a couple of opportunities. It was also one of the rare set pieces that actually worked out really well. Our set pieces throughout the whole game were pretty awful, but that was a decent corner from, I'm pretty sure it might have been Tierney that whipped that one in. No surprise that we scored from it. And then from there, it was just about controlling the game. It didn't exactly work out as planned, to be honest with you. In fact, if anything, they actually had a little bit of a rally at the end. And to be fully honest with you, they probably should have scored. Pseudo should have actually scored.
He should have scored that.
On that half turn where he's got Scales beat, he should be at least forcing Sinisalo into a save. We were lucky to get out of that in the end with all 3 points, with that chance alone. But as you said earlier, you know, if you'd asked everybody, what do you want going into this game? What's the most important thing today? What do you want today? It's getting out of there with the 3 points. And we did that. And that's really the overarching feeling for everything. And it's going to be exactly how we feel for every other remaining fixture. It's going to literally be get the 3 points. It's by hook or by crook, if you want to use that terminology. Just make sure you get the 3 points. And in particular at Easter Road and the away games, I think we've got Fir Park coming up as well. Yep. Get the 3 points and get out of there.
So, yeah, realistically, I'm looking at it going second half. They should have scored late on. Should have been a draw there. As Martin said after the game, like, we had a few things go our way. We had a few things, you know, we're a bit lucky at times as well. So, yeah, we I don't know, it's hard to sum up. Normally, sometimes you could say, oh, we outworked the opposition or we outplayed them or whatever. I just think it was one of those games where I wouldn't even say the better team won. All I'm going to say is we took one extra chance than they did. That was pretty much it. Like, I don't think either team was better than the other. It was hard to judge on that because we should have dominated. Once they went down to 10 men, we should have piled on the pressure, got a bunch of shots off, and tried to fix the goal difference issue we've got. So the fact that we conceded and then we needed to get a winner in the second half to pick up the 3 points, I'm glad we did that and we showed the resilience to go and do that. But I think we missed the opportunity there. Well,
I might just, on that, apologies, I might go on a little tangent, but I'll try and keep it as small as possible. You're right. I agree with you wholeheartedly. When they went down to 10, this presented itself as an opportunity for us to hopefully pile on a couple of goals and tighten up that goal difference gap, right? But it's something that we've really struggled with particularly under Martin's second spell, we have not really bossed a team for the full 90 minutes. In every game we've played under Martin's second spell, each team we've played, we've really just come away with some 1-0, 2-1, maybe 3-1 where we've scored a goal late on to get a bit of breathing room. But in each and every game, really all of our opponents have had some sort of momentum at some point during the game and either leveled it up or they've scored first and we've had to score again. And this presented itself as that opportunity to be able to put a couple past them and actually dominate the game. And to be fair, I think we did dominate the game, but we didn't put any of the number of goals that we probably should have put past them. Now, it's easy to say from up here, and they obviously sat really deep. And not to discount my point from before, which you said as well, the most important thing was to leave there with the 3 points. But it is becoming a bit of a concern for me that even when an opportunity like that presents, we aren't able to go on and pile on 3 or 4-0, right? It's something that's been a little bit of a concern under Martin's second spell. And yes, winning's the most important thing, but that when you're sort of winning 1-0, 2-1, obviously the door is still ajar for every team that we play, that a 2-1 win could easily be, like yesterday, could easily be a 2-2 draw.
Yep, and it's just one of those things, Shane, where I'm going to say something borderline controversial here. Love St. Martin, right? Absolute star. Like, love the guy. But for me, I don't think he's got our lineups and like starting lineups right the last 3 or 4 games. And we've had to make impact subs. So his game management has been getting the job done and bringing players on who make an impact and fix things up. And the reason I'm saying this is because you said we haven't bossed any team for 90 minutes. That's what I think is playing into that. Because whether it's we have some player in there like a Nigrin who seems to be an empty jersey half the time he's out there, or Tenecti who is constantly, cutting inside, or, we are leaking goals at the back or we're dicking around with the passes too much at the back. Little things like that teams can find a weakness and exploit. And then we've got to figure out a way to stop the rot and then get the job done. So the coaching and game management is working, but we're getting ourselves into a shit situation to then have to work our way out of. This was the perfect scenario where we're down to 10, as Robert Gibson's saying, they played 70-plus minutes with 10 men, and we still struggled to open them up. And that's the thing for me, and that's the managed decline we've got in this squad, where we don't have the impact players. Like, I'm going to say it, Shane, where were those guys we brought in January? Seriously, where were they? If you have a look at the match sheet, who'd be bringing in January? Arahau is no longer at the club. Cansvara's gone home too because he's gonna have surgery apparently, right? So then you look at the rest of them.
Junior Adamu.
Who's that?
And Mvuka.
Mvuka, the only one we're going to spend money on.
Yeah, no thanks.
The only one who we brought in January, and we actually brought him in February, mind you, because he was a free agent, is Oxlade-Chamberlain, and he's on the bench as an unused sub. Rio Hatate is on the bench as an unused sub. Sirachi's there as an unused sub. We have 5 subs available and we only use 4. So I'm just bringing that up because it's been something that's been bugging me a little bit. And I'm not blaming it on Martin. I just think as a team, we've just got too many players whose form is all over the place. It's like a roller coaster. And he can't even figure out which version of each player he's going to get each week. There's a comment here from Gordon saying, wasn't Jota meant to be back by now? Apparently he had a mishap and had to go get some further treatment and stuff. So, yeah, it's a bit concerning. So anyway, referees, I'd just like to say to you guys, you took your best shot yesterday. There was 2 attempts that you went to VAR that you had to call. Every other 50-50 on VAR and that you could get involved in. You didn't. You tried. You failed. We still got the 3 points. Get it up, yous. There you go. Man of the match, Shano. Who was it?
Oh, that's I'd probably have to give it to Dyson, to be honest. I thought he worked tirelessly throughout that. And he was profligate, right? He did fluff his lines a fair bit. We didn't have a lot of, I'd say, poor players necessarily. Like, I don't think we played poorly. We just didn't play to the level that we could have. I would probably give it to Dyson, but there's probably 2 or 3 that are probably in the running. Like, I thought KT had a really good, solid game and ran out the full 90, which is pretty rare for Kieran. And AJ at fullback, I thought was very good. He worked into the game really well. I thought he started slow. He obviously copped that horrendous tackle, but then I thought he worked into the game really well in that first half, and then was pretty good in a second half where we didn't have a lot of winners initially until the subs came on. So I'd still punt for Dyson, but either KT or AJ could easily get man of the match as well.
My man of the match goes to Jamie McGrath for being an absolute spud. There you go. Nah, he can be my donkey of the day, actually. Andrew Galea and you, Shane, are spot on, mate. It was man of the match. There you go. So, Player of the Year award, Shane.
Yeah.
How can you have your Player of the Year awards at the club level, at least, when you still got 3 games to go? I find that really weird.
I don't understand it either. We've got 3 actual league fixtures and a cup fixture to go, a cup final, and yet we're deciding who is our player of the season. I don't understand. Doesn't make sense.
You have your player of the season when it goes to a guy who is a bit average, in my opinion, and he wins player of the year in Nigrin. Yet, imagine if, say, we play the Huns on the weekend and, say, big buddy Scales comes through with his big ginger mop and just headers in a banger of a goal to win the game, right? And he was probably our best player in the first 2 months, through 3 months of the season. And then he does that. And then on the last day of the season, we need to like, stop Hearts getting some goal. They get around the keeper and then Scales comes flying in. He's more likely to kung fu kick the ball into his own head for an own goal, right? But if he comes in and saves it at the back post, stops them scoring and we win the league. I'm just using this as an example. If you got someone who was our best player for the first 3 months of the season and has then won a few man of the matches here and there as we've gone, and then he has a couple of big impacts in these 2 games against the 2 other teams in the title race, now that competition's going to be a hell of a lot closer for Player of the Year, isn't it? Between Scales and between Nigrin, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's the thing that I find really funny. Like, I thought Kieran Tierney was pretty good this year too. We've had a pretty average season, so it's hard to pick a best player. But I'd put him in my top 3. What could he do against the Huns on the weekend or against Hearts in 2 weeks? I just think it's odd.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. It makes no sense. And I want to back up your point on KT. For me, if we're picking player of the season, and I wouldn't pick it right now because the season isn't over, but when we get to the end of the season, I would expect that I'd most likely vote for KT. I think we've had a lot of ebbing and flowing this season. And what I think about KT is that whilst he may not have hit the heights, he most certainly hasn't hit the heights of when he was first at the club, and particularly under Brendan in that Invincible season. And he may not have necessarily hit the heights that we'd all hoped he would this season, but he's been a really good, solid contributor and a consistently solid contributor throughout all 3 phases of managerial appointments this season. He was solid under Brendan, he was solid under Martin, he was one of the few solid players under Wilfred Nancy, and now he's been solid again under Martin. And to me, that consistency hasn't flowed through many other players. So he's been at a consistent level throughout the entire season. And we're talking about a guy who's had a couple of weeks off. He often gets subbed on 70 minutes, and yet he's definitely been probably our most consistent player throughout the entirety of the season. So he would have been my pick of player of the season at this point. I don't want to come off as an anti...
Can I just jump in there, Shane? With what you've just said, if I didn't know we're talking about KT and the way you've described under Brendan, under Martin, under Nancy, and then under Martin again, there's one other player, when you just think of just the way they performed across all those changes, it ticks all those same boxes. And he won our Young Player of the Year award.
Oh, Yang. The Yang
Yang
gang.
gang.
The
He's
Yang
the
gang's
only
back.
other one, in my opinion, who has done the same thing this season. So I just wanted to give him his flowers quickly while that's fresh, but then back to you now.
Well, he won Young Player of the Year as well at the award ceremony, which I think is well deserved as well. And you're right, and he's someone that's been pretty well maligned while we go down sort of this Young path for a second, but yeah, he's been good, and he's gotten better as the season's gone on as well. He was one of the few players under the Nancy reign that you go, no, he was at the level or better, right? One of the rare few. Whereas Liam Scales really struggled under Wilfred Nancy. He looked completely all at sea. Nancy made him basically relegated him to the bench because he struggled with his system, right? So, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and he's a deserved winner of the Young Player of the Year award. I think he won the goal of the season as well. Again, I'm not really sure how you give goal of the season in a season that hasn't finished yet. There could be an absolute world he scored in the next couple of matches. It just makes no fucking
Or
sense.
there could be a goal scored in the 92nd minute on the last day of the season to win the title. That's going to be your goal of the season, isn't it?
Like, it just doesn't make any fucking sense. But anyway, just
Just to
on...
go to the awards quickly, Shane. So
Yeah.
in the men's team, so young player of the year was Yang. Goal of the year was Yang versus Rangers. Men's player of the year was Negrin. Men's top goal scorer was Negrin, and men's player of the year was Negrin. So those two guys won 3 awards.
And that's what I wanted to touch on real quick. I don't want to come across. We've talked ad nauseum about Benji Negrin a lot this season and how maligned he is, and we've all got our views on him. And I've stated mine previously, right? I don't want to come across as an anti-Benji Negrin sort of personal podcast, right? I can see why he's one player of the season. His actual output statistically is very, very good. It's very, very high. It's like 15 goals and 5 assists over the season. I can understand why he's won it, and he's had some really good games. For me, he's wildly inconsistent, and then the games where he doesn't score, he's really ineffective, and I thought he was really poor yesterday. I don't want to come across as like we're totally at him, but he is most certainly a maligned player, and we talked about this a few weeks ago, in terms of the way he's perceived by the fan base. And I want to go on a little bit of a tangent, and this is going to upset one of our viewers in particular, I think. And I'm going to keep an eye out for the comments. But I was thinking back about maligned players, and in particular...
Where you're going.
Yeah, you do know where I'm going with this. And I was thinking back of players who've been really maligned, but when you actually look at their goal and assist tally for the season, has actually been really good. Exactly right. As you're watching live, you'll see the sort of the ticker at the bottom of the screen. Louis Palmer, in his first season, he had scored something like 10 goals and had 8 assists. Like, his actual goal assist output, what he delivered was really, really good for such a maligned player. And Benji Negrin reminds me a little bit of that, in a sense that, yeah, he can bang them in on occasion. He can score a brace here and there, but when he's not doing that, he doesn't really impact the game at all. So I had to say that. Oh, you've got a new ticker. Oh, that's special. I like the way you've added that second part. That second part's in different text though, which makes me worried that
Shane's waffling again, but he is right. Explain that for the audio. The first one was Palmer is a wanker, which is a quote by Robert Gibson that we get all the time in the comments. And there's one other in here, Shane, which I should have brought up earlier in the pod.
Well,
the handball rule is a schmozzle.
It is, but it wasn't. And shouldn't have been. The fucking schmozzle was our officials on VAR duty. But anyway, I'm waffling a bit.
Is he?
Anyway, congratulations to our award recipients, and also to the Celtic women's team as well, and to the award winners there. They awesome job.
Even Gordon's getting on you, Shane. You went full Palmer, Shane.
Look, what I would ask is those of you who are going to turn on me, and you can turn on me, and you have the right to do so, and good on you. I deserve it a lot.
Just remember, Shane's 5'6". Everyone, he's little.
You've actually bigged me up there. But just check the statistics. I promise you'll sort of have a little bit of a different viewpoint if you look at Palmer's first season.
I remember during Palmer's first season, I used to say he was like a hibernating bear. Basically, when it got to really like the start of the season, he was okay. He was scoring goals. Then when it got really cold, we didn't see him at all. And then he came back at the end and started banging in goals again.
Hibernating bear.
There you go. So, yeah, speaking of Bears, that was a perfect segue. Glasgow Derby situation. Celtic tell the Huns that they can have tickets, but you can't give any to the Union Bears. They blow up Deluxe. They go to, was it the SFA or the SPFL or whatever, and they go, no, they're giving you the tickets. They can choose who can come to their stadium. So sit on it and rotate, Huns. I don't know if they're taking up the seats or not, but good. I don't want those Union Bear scum in our stadium. I thought Shane would be, a bit happy with that sort of thing. But what's your thoughts?
Oh, I'm not surprised by it, and I think the club's handled it really well. I think there's the outrage or faux outrage to be expected, but it's exactly that. It's unnecessary anger and frustration at a decision that the club is well within its rights to make, and I'm glad the SFA have actually backed Celtic on this and said no, it's entirely up to them, and you either take it up with that allocation with that ruling, or you don't take it at all. And so what they do is what they do. It's entirely up to them. I don't care.
Just on principle, Shane, I just think if anyone's going to go out wearing a Spider-Man balaclava in public, they don't deserve to ever be allowed in your football stadium. So there you go. That's my thoughts.
I've forgotten about that. That's
there you go. And
memories.
Andrew's just gone right down the same path there. They look cute in their Spider-Man outfits. What's this? Gabby Boy is saying, will Hargroves have a toilet watch wrecking it and stealing a water out the loos? Hey, it wouldn't surprise me if they were to do that. But yeah, I just think it's funny. It's good to see that happen. But before we get into the derby chat quickly, Hearts versus the Huns. Huns has died, Huns, whatever you want to call them. Well, there was one that I saw today and I thought, oh, this one has to be said on the pod. Just bear with us a sec, Shane. What's your thoughts on the outcome of the Terry's Choc Orange Minis versus the Terry's Choc Orange actual size?
That's very much a new one.
So yeah, that result. What do you hope happens? That's what the pod was like. Permutations, out the wazoo basically. Because I was talking to my wife this morning. I'm like, yeah, we won, but then you got the Huns and Hearts are playing. So if Hearts win, then Rangers pretty much can't win the title. If it's a draw, then we get closer so we can actually get the job done. It's all happening. So what do you hope happens in that game, Shane? Do you want... Because I'm torn between two results. If Hearts win, it's going to be harder for us to come through and win the comp, right? Because they're still going to have that 3 points ahead of us. And even if we beat them last round, goal difference is a factor. So because of that, do you go for a draw? If it goes for a draw, that means Rangers are still a chance, and then they've got to play us this weekend. So then they're still going to think, oh, if we can get something at Celtic Park, they're a chance. But then that brings Hearts closer back to us for the last round of the season. So it's kind of like, how do you handle this?
A little bit torn, but I'm probably more in the bracket of, if I had to rank them, a draw would be perfect, but then very close behind would be a Hearts win. I think at this point in the season, I think being able to knock someone out of this 3-horse race, which I think effectively if Rangers lose this, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to go on and win the title. I think and they were really, to be honest with you, and this might come across as a little bit controversial, in the league they were really the form team out of the three teams. They were the ones that hadn't dropped points or hadn't lost as recently. Like, they were on a little bit of a tear domestically until that slip up against Motherwell, and everything's fallen apart since then. So I think for me, the ability to knock someone out and actually have it down to a 2-horse race, where I think we could obviously get back on parity with Hearts again, would be a little bit more beneficial to us if it came to that. But ideally a draw, because obviously it keeps Hearts within striking distance. It means if we get a positive result next week, there's every chance we could actually finish on top of the table next week. So look, a draw, but the secondary result would be that Hearts beat them and effectively end their title run, and then it becomes a race between us and Hearts instead.
Yeah, so currently Hearts is on top on 73 points, but with the goal difference. we're equal with them on points, and Rangers are on 69 points. Nice. So if they were to win, that would bring them up to 70, and us and Hearts would be even. So it'd be 1 point between the top three teams.
But the reason I'm a little bit concerned about Rangers is just the fact that their goal difference is the best out of all three. So
Exactly.
if they lose and they're stuck on 69 points, at least 4 points behind us, and then effectively 7 points behind Hearts, that's their title. That's their title ambitions over, and it also means that a team that the goal difference is quite significant between has a greater advantage compared to us is out of the race.
Yeah.
The 4 goal difference between us and Hearts is manageable. 7 goals between us and Rangers, if they're ahead of us or level with us, is going to be a little bit difficult with this Celtic team.
And that's the thing. So if these two teams draw, then that puts Hearts 1 point ahead of us. That puts Rangers 3 points behind us.
Yep.
So that puts them a mile back. But the thing as well, as was in the comments here, was... Where was it? McLaughlin saying, I don't want to be 6 behind before that derby game. So say if Hearts win, they're playing on, I think, Saturday, which means they could win that as well and be 6 ahead of us before we play the Glasgow derby on Sunday. So it's a bit of one of those interesting ones. That's why I'm saying there's all sorts of permutations going on. It could be anything. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, it's going to be some disappointed, Hunnish people coming out of the game. But yeah, let's see. If it's a draw, I'll be happy as a pig in shit. Let's be honest.
Some disappointed Union Jack enthusiasts. Look, for me, I don't fear this Rangers team, but the idea of them coming to Celtic Park effectively 4 points behind us and out of the race is more appealing with that goal difference advantage that they have, assuming it doesn't get completely wiped out or significantly wiped out at Tynecastle, is a bit different to if they come to Celtic Park where they could, and I'm just being totally honest here, if they actually jag this sort of somehow 1-0 win, if they get all the help in the world, and all of a sudden then they go above us because they're level on points with a superior goal difference. That I feel more comfortable about chasing Hearts 3 points behind, but the draw is the perfect result. Let's not make any bones about that. If they come away with a 1-1 draw or a 0-0 draw, we're very, very happy.
I would rather the Huns lose, right, as you're saying, and then McLaughlin's got it spot on. This is exactly how I feel. We win the next 2 and watch Hearts blow up versus Falkirk. And that's what will happen. Derek McInnes is a bottle merchant. How many times did it happen at Aberdeen? He got close one time at Killy. And now here he is. He's going to get a nosebleed. He's not used to the air up there when the pressure's high. Pressure's getting hotter and hotter and harder and harder. And he's rubbish. So anyway, derby game. I think it's Sunday, 12 o'clock, so 9 p.m. for us. Perfect time. What are your thoughts, Shane? How confident are
you? My confidence will be impacted a little bit in terms of what happens at Tynecastle overnight for us. But I'm very confident at a packed Celtic Park that we are going to get a very positive result against the Rangers team, irrespective of whether they're necessarily out of the race or not. 4 points behind, 3 points behind, 1 point behind, doesn't really matter. This is exactly the kind of game I think we've been building for. I expect Martin to get this team absolutely raring to go, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see our best 90-minute performance for the season on Sunday coming up.
I look at it and go, we're primed, ready to go here. If the Huns lose to Hearts and then they come to our joint, they're there to be got at. It's going to happen. They're a bunch of hammer throwers. The only thing they got going for them is that they're bigger physically at every position on the park. They're not better footballers, but they're bigger. And some of them are better athletes. So I think we've got the skills there where we can come out, have a raucous Celtic Park, Green Brigade's in there, Sunday hopefully in the sun, and just get there and get the job done. We can absolutely poleaxe these guys. I don't think they're a very good team. I do not think they're a good team. And Gavi boy, this was going to be my score prediction. Made his last derby. Yeah, he's going to score a hat trick in this, and we're going to win 4-1 because the refs have got to give him something. It's going to be the old mate Tav's last penalty, Glasgow hang on, what's the headline going to be? Tav's old firm penalty. No, it's Glasgow Derby first of all, but Tav will get his last penalty in the derby, and it'll be his last one, Dazen's last one, but we're going to fucking thump them. 4-1 is my prediction.
This is where we're going to be clinical, where we haven't been all season. We're going to be clinical. I agree they're going to score 1. I think we put 5 past them.
Fuck yeah, McLaughlin's saying 6-2, like the old days. Fuck it. Yep. We'll get it done. Gordon, I wish you all the best. I've already pre-warned the missus that I may be yelling and screaming between 2:30 and 4 a.m. I wish you all the best in your future endeavours when your missus, if we see you back here next Monday, Gordon, in the comments, I'll be surprised. All the best. Nah, you'll be fine, mate. Yeah, so it's going to be one. We're going to get the job done. I think it's going to be an ugly game for the first 30, 40 minutes. Second half, we'll snag 2 goals just in between the 30 and 40 minute mark, and then they'll get their pen before half time, and then we'll just fucking run over the top of them. Second half, 3 goals to Dazen, Jamesy Forrest, 4th goal. There it is. Or Scales with his howitzer header.
I was about to say, Scales, to remind everybody why he should probably be in contention for player of the season if it didn't wrap up before the end of the season.
There you go. Done. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting one. Just think we'll just wrap the pod up there, Shane. So, yeah, just thanks everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it. If you haven't done so, hit like on the YouTube for the video. It helps us out with the algorithm on there. And yeah, I'd say subscribe, but pretty much everyone in the comments I know are subscribers already, so you guys are all legends. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. What we'll do is we'll go to our final thoughts. So have you got one there, Shane?
Yeah, just a quick music shout out. I've given a recommendation for this album before. I'm going to do it again because it's so good. Irish band called Whipping Boy from the 90s. Album is called Heartworm. It's genuinely one of the best albums I've ever heard. If you like sort of 90s alternative rock sort of veering into grunge, it's like literally a no-skip album. It's not that well known outside of Ireland. It's absolutely brilliant. Heartworm by Whipping Boy. Definitely check it out.
My final thoughts, pretty simple. Anyone who's listened to the pod knows one of my least favourite players growing up was John Collins. There was just something about it I didn't like, right? But credit where it's due. The fact that he actually had the balls to come out and say the referees and the VAR should get sacked for that game. I know it was mentioned about it earlier. It's great to see someone linked to the club in the media actually having a crack and saying something. So probably the first and only time I'll say this. Well said, John Collins. Well done. Hail, hail, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Hail, hail.